be self perceptions. Any of this reduces the bonding in with the between the child and the woman. That also reduces milk supply. That is what is equivalent to dislike of breastfeeding and tiredness. And definitely, though I have listed it as inappropriate nutrition, that becomes first as the nutrition fraternity here. When a woman is not being able to feed adequately, appropriately nourished, the child is not going to get the nourishment. In Tamil, there is one more saying which says, "Oorar pillai vootti valarthal tan pillai thane valarum." I think at the end of this particular session, I'm going to ask somebody to say what is the meaning of this particular Tamil saying. Oorar pillayai ootti valarthal tan pillai thane valarum. So let me finish this breastfeeding problem section, and then I would expect some good interactive answers from the audience. So we have learned about what is the reason for low milk supply and where are all the areas we need to really focus on to give confidence, to educate the woman, and to sustain or to improve upon milk supply and breastfeeding. And the breast engorgement is another problem where they tell. So what happens is plenty of milk. And nowadays we have the advantage of milk banking, where whenever a woman has plenty of milk, whether she's working or not working, how we can really make use of that excessive milk. One is to keep it and refrigerate it and keep it using when a mother is going out, or if the mother is not working but still there is a plenty of milk, actually she can contribute to the rest of the fraternity by expressing the milk and giving it, donating it to the milk bank and so on. So that way we will be able to avoid this big breast engorgement. So which means again there should be an awareness about these breast milk banking and how can they reach about and so on. Otherwise, when a mother is working, there is a breast engorgement. It only means when before she comes to work, she has to express the milk, store it appropriately, and therefore she can avoid the breast engorgement because of plenty of milk. The other one is delayed start to breastfeeding. So it is always better that we start breastfeeding soon after delivery. And poor attachment has been discussed. In infrequent removal of the milk or restricting the length of the feeds. So this is very another important thing. Allow unrestricted breastfeeding. So till one breast completely empties, the child should be breastfed. Otherwise, there will be a engagement. So as healthcare professionals, we should be able to educate our clients based on this components. And cracked nipples, you could see what are the basic remedies that I am just showing here. You can even apply the few drops of breast milk on the cracked nipple, that itself will heal. And there can be warm compression and an oil massage. All this will definitely help the woman to overcome the problem of cracked nipples. This cracked nipples comes because of inappropriate latching. So that is why the first component is addressed on appropriate latching. I do remember a few instances as a child when I was observing my aunts and my other relatives breastfeeding my cousins. So what they used to do is they used to go and close the door of a particular room and keep on. None of us are allowed to enter inside. As children, we are very inquisitive to know how the child is feeding, what happens, and things like that. But we are strictly avoided from distracting the mother and child. This is one of the age-old practices. So that is something what I have watched and grown. So that tells that age we would not have understood. But when I am talking about the breastfeeding here, to create the bonding, to reduce the stress, to reduce the worry, the mother and child should be locked in should be in a separate place where they enjoy each other, and then there is an appropriate and adequate flow of milk, and the child gets full. On the other hand, my own one of relative had this problem of cracked nipple, a primey. So I could not really, at that time again, we were not very familiar with what is the problem. But now I understand the child was not latching properly. And of course, we got some technical or an expert help to see to that the child is trained to appropriately latch. And over the period, the sore nipple was overcome. But I could feel I observed the pain the mother was going through when there is cracked nipple and it is bleeding and the child is not able to be fed. And it's a whole lot of confusion or a whole lot of um, pain that the entire family was going through. But now I understand that there are a lot of easy measures which can be adapted to avoid the problem of cracked nipples. And mastitis and blocked milk ducts, it can be overcome by improving milk removal, wearing loose fitting clothing, breastfeeding more frequently, gently massaging toward the nipple, applying a warm compressor to the area, and varying feeding positions. So, almost many of them are kind of related to the attachments and also frequent feeding and emptying the breast. And this is something which we have to be familiar and also to address to the. So, this is the barrier, and these are all the different chances that we can, or opportunities that we can educate the woman to encourage breastfeeding. Now, I think I will go back to my question on what is the meaning of that paramori. Kayal, madam, is it allowed to have a question? And if I am exceeding time,
Yes,
please.
yes, yes. You are allowed to ask.
Yeah,
And I request my participants to be active in answering your questions.
yeah. If it can be, oh, you just unmute yourself and answer, because I am not seeing any of the chat boxes over there. I'm not stopped because technically it may be missing my sharing the screen. Anybody? ஊரார் பிள்ளையை ஊட்டி வளர்த்தால் தன் பிள்ளை தானே வளரும். Okay. I thought size can be given anyway. So looks like there are not many answers. Can I proceed with the next one, or can I tell the answer myself?
You can answer and continue. All my second year, third year students and other colleges also second years, third years are there. But it's still you can answer. You continue. Dr. Hema?
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, continue, ma. Some technical error, I think so. Dr. Hema? What happened, Dr. Hema? Are you there?
Okay. So Oorar Pillai. Oorar Pillai means it is here we are talking, that is Oorar Pillai to that family. The feed the. Am I audible?
No, no.
Ma'am, you are
Slide is
audible, but the screen is not visible.
Screen is not.
Am I audible? Seems to be some disconnection there.
Yeah, ma'am, you are audible, but your screen is not visible.
Yeah, I will share the screen again. There's some connecting problems here. So looks like I am not getting any answer to my question.
Ma'am, may I answer, ma'am?
Hello, ma'am.
May I answer, ma'am?
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. May I answer?
I was talking about.
Hello. Hello. Ma'am, ஊரார் பிள்ளையை ஊட்டி வளர்த்தால் தாம் பிள்ளை தாமே வளையும் question கேட்டு.
Is my screen visible now?
Yes, Dr. Hema, it is visible.
Yeah. So I'll go to the next one. So I was trying to answer the explanation. I hope I've answered, and somebody was trying to tell also. So the next problem that we were looking at is having to go back to work, and this is the theme that we are talking, the breastfeeding is focusing on, and inconveniences. In this regard, UNICEF has identified four critical policy areas, which is sufficient paid leave, support for exclusive breastfeeding, accessible child care and early education, child benefits, and adequate wages. So this is what the UNICEF has said, and let us see what is in our country. See, the support that Indian mothers receive before and after. All of us know when a woman is pregnant, and especially first time, the kind of the kind of petting and pampering and etc., whatever the woman, that's the best part of a woman's life, I would say. Immediately after the child is born, the mother is forgotten. Okay, that I think all of us would have experienced. When the child is born, the more focus is on the child, and everybody talks about the child, the mother is forgotten. But however, in our Indian culture, it's an ingrained habit to give utmost importance to the woman during her delivery. Now, realizing this, way back in 1967, the Maternity Benefit Act has been sanctioned by the government, and it allows soon to be mothers to focus on their family and take some time from work in the form of maternity leave. So, another question, but due to poor audio, I just wanted to pose a question. What is the period of maternity leave in our country? And recently I learned something new, but is there any way but somebody can answer or put it in the chat box if it is possible? What is the period of maternity leave in India? 9 months. Okay, anybody else? Dhanalakshmi, Durga Lakshmi, sorry, 6 months. Anybody else? Thanks for your response. I'm so happy. At least I'm able to see that. Okay. So basically, it was earlier, it was 6 months. Any answer? Okay. Yes, somebody has got Vandar Kurali. I think we should give a big hand to Mrs. Vandar Kurali, a student or madam, I'm not sure. But recently I learned also in our breastfeeding week celebration, it's been made as 1 year. Okay, earlier it was 6 months, and many times a working woman used to get only 3 months. That also we have experienced in my earlier years of my career here, when people used to go for maternity leave, it was only 3 months, and the extension of another 3 months used to come with a lot of difficulty, a lot of representation, and so on and so forth. But it is like over the period we have changed. In my own department, I make it a point, people who go for a maternity leave, they get exclusive 6 months. They are entitled. I as a boss don't cut the leave short, and I give recommendation to see to that the people get their full 6 months maternity leave. So this is something we now, the recently what I learned also is that it is being sanctioned for an 1 year, which means the right of the woman and right of the child has to be protected, and it has been envisaged by our government, and that's what I have also learned, that is for 1 year. Now, what is this maternity leave tells? Okay, so it says that at least 80 days of work with the employer in the 12 months prior to the expected date of delivery. Whoever experienced miscarriages are also eligible. Whoever adopting child are also eligible for maternity leave, and surrogate mothers can also take 26 of maternity leave, 26 weeks of maternity leaves. Very important is the act applies to both public and private sector. This is something very, very important, because all the laws, all maternity leave facilities, of course, as a organized sector of employment, many of us would have been will be eligible to avail and enjoy. But what about the other people, non formal sectors? So this act says even for public and private, anywhere a woman employee is entitled for the maternity leave, and full salary is to be given during the maternity leave, and then childcare provisions, additional leave days, and there should be appropriate comfortable seating and working arrangements, so on so forth, has been envisaged or has been put in act by the Maternity Leave Act of Government of India. And most importantly, this also I like. There are so many other components you can go back and read, but this is something I like. Employers cannot fire or dismiss a woman employee solely because they are pregnant, in labor, or recuperating. This is something all of us should be familiar with. And more than that, there should be a medical bonus of rupees 3,500 and a benefit of minimum of rupees 6,000 under the National Food Security Act. Even this is being given to the woman, because all this shows the kind of importance that is being given, the significance that is being given to a lactating woman. Through her, the generations are going to survive. Because again, NFHS data says about stunting, underweight, under mortality, under fine mortality, so many things. All of this are associated with the breastfeeding practices, exclusive breastfeeding. After that, 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, starting with complementary feeding. So I was very glad to hear when I learned 2 3 days back, it is for 1 year, 12 months, which means as a nutritionist, all of us will be very happy. First 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding. Next 6 months, when the mother has to be transiting the child to complementary feeding. So the entire 1 year, the child gets appropriate nourishment, and subsequently, we can prevent onset of various dreaded non-communicable diseases later in the child's life. We can prevent under 5 mortality, and we can prevent stunting and underweight. I think that is something. But that message, how much it is practicable, how else we can, how what are the strategies we can adapt to practice, all these are something points to ponder at the employer level and also employees level. That is something what I learned. And last few slides of my presentation, we come to the poor community acceptability. So there should be a whole lot of awareness created among the community to encourage the support a woman who is in her lactating phase to appropriately um, like utilize her right for breastfeeding, and also appropriately to give her duties to the child. So community participation, this is from a WHO monologue, wherein community participation, they were talking about women, or the participatory group from the, like how we have the self-help group, like that. In the among the women of the particular community, the women who have already delivered, who are a little senior and so on, with experience and also in age, to be grouped together, which will give lot of confidence to the woman who is newly initiating her breastfeeding journey. So this is where the community participation has been emphasized upon. Training and supervision, WHO has really given a lot of templates to say how do we train the woman, also the people who are supporting breastfeeding, and give a counseling network so that it can enhance the practice of breastfeeding. Community education, information sharing. So information sharing comes from all aspects. It is how breastfeeding is good for the advantages, like as nutrition students, we all would have passed writing these questions in our undergraduate or even in our postgraduate examination. List the advantages of breastfeeding to the woman, list the advantages of breastfeeding to the child, describe the disadvantages of breastfeeding to the child. So many questions we have been learning. But what happens is, unfortunately, we learn that, we put it on paper, get some marks, 5 points, 5 marks, 10 points, 10 marks. Like that only we have been trained. But beyond that, as nutrition students over there and also the budding nutritionists over there, you should take this information to the people around. So I think now another thing I was happy about is, we have IFI, IYCF practices, we have BHFI, so on. As nutrition students, we are also in a position to take up this profession of lactation consultant. Many of our own postgraduates, alumni have taken up this profession and doing a wonderful job as lactation consultant. So I tell every time, as a nutritionist, We have so many different opportunities rather than just looking at being a dietitian in a particular hospital. So the students over there as audience should give it a thought. You have a very promising and very important job as well to promote exclusive breastfeeding among the community by community encouraging community participation by taking the information that you have learned in your UG or PG programs to the community. That is very, very important. And not only with that, you have lot of opportunity for monitoring, research, and evaluation. I know a NGO in our the nearby district where they continue to do a lot of research and they keep taking inputs from our department to say how to design the questionnaire to elicit information about the exclusive breastfeeding or the challenges the woman faces for breastfeeding, or how do we have actually in my CV I would have added, we have provided a WhatsApp information on nutrition during pregnancy, nutrition during lactation, a WhatsApp information. We have provided a content for their initiative of developing a mobile app for women who are breastfeeding or who are in the pregnancy stage and so on, that we as academicians or as professionals, we have given the content to them. They are using that content to improve upon their research and evaluation activities and taking our inputs as well. So the monitoring, research and evaluation and health information systems is something where we can look forward for and where we can engage the community, utilize the opportunities available and spread the message across. We are engaging ourselves in these two components. That's why I said they have created a mobile app wherein I was one of the part of the information content provider, which is being used in the community. And of course, to referral and counter referral wherever it is required. We say clinician talks about more than the clinician talking about the breastfeeding. If the person is referred to a lactation support nurse, lactation support nutritionist, or lactation support any other healthcare professional, it is going to be adding advantage to everything. Similarly, a woman who is unable to lactate because of her poor nutritional intake, referred to a nutritionist, given an appropriate menu, tailored menu, which will enhance. Our department always has all this recipes made by our postgraduate, supervised by our faculty on various lactagogues, which can be utilized for for which can be taken by the women during their period of lactation. And I'm sure at your end also you must have been conducting these kind of exhibitions. So all this becomes a community activity where we will be able to support our women for exclusive breastfeeding, initiation of early breastfeeding, and also exclusive breastfeeding. And this is something which all of us will be seeing wherever we go. The government's initiative to support a lactating woman. Earlier, when these facilities were not there, women were very hesitant to breastfeed in the public places. Thanks to our people whoever have initiated this idea to give good comfort and facility for women who wants to breastfeed in general, in common places, the public places, to encourage breastfeeding. And we also should be able to take up this. This is the most important crux which is relevant to our workplace. Where what happens? Why, if a woman is working, how she or he can, how she can continue to breastfeed in spite of her busy work. Okay. When I was introduced as busy schedule, I wanted to say I wanted to say this not I learned this also from one of the other person whom I follow. It is not busy, it is easy. I am not busy, I am easy. I just was wanted to tell this because this is one terminology I learned. But when a woman is saying like she's a busy working woman who is lactating, we can encourage and educate the particular woman to express the breast milk. Now, this is many people are familiar about it, expressing the breast milk, storing the breast milk, and giving the children the breast milk, and so on. One of the incidents that was shared was when when a mother is breastfeeding. Luckily, the house is closer by, so the father comes at regular intervals and collects the breast milk from the woman, express and collects the breast milk from the woman, and goes and gives it at home for the child. I think this is a wonderful practice, which was which again, because I am quoting so many experiences that we learned in the past 1 week of our breastfeeding week celebration now. During the 1 week. So this is one instance where somebody was sharing the father also has an equal role. Apart from what you are seeing on the screen, this is an information for you to take it across to the people who are working and who have challenges of giving appropriate milk to the child. But you can give this education that if you are producing adequate milk, more than adequately, also you can express, store it appropriately, and use it as long as you can. That is one information you need to carry. And in this regard, I just quoted that example which I learned, which I heard, that father has also a role. So whenever there is a house nearby, people from the home, this is what is a community participation. People from home can take that initiative to collect the breast milk from the woman and give it to the crying child. So these are certain new avenues or new shift that has to come to the concept of encouraging breastfeeding among the population, the community. The mother has to be really given a importance. And in relation to, before I close, in relation to the father's role, any idea, is there a leave for father also? Is there a paternity leave? Yes or no? I just probably want only as an yes or no. And if at all anybody knows how many months or weeks or anything, you can tell. Father's role is also very, very important. We all agree on that. Is there a paternity leave as well? There is a paternity leave, and you can, there are, which I obviously forgot because this also I learned recently, but forgot about the period. But you can go back and see the literature for how many days or how many, I think it is only few weeks that the father gets to, I think it is 4 weeks or something, the father gets a leave for helping the woman to also encourage breastfeeding. This is community participation. So at last we come to the conclusion to say that enabling breastfeeding, how do we do that? There are so many different components that I just discussed about. It is the breastfeeding problems that I need to enable, and there are so many laws, that is the protecting the rights of the mother and the child, which has been envisaged by our government, that has to be made familiar to the people, and also the community participation. This is what I was talking about. So the breastfeeding, in case of working women, what are the economic benefits? Obviously, because I don't have to pay a penny for giving my breast milk. But if I were to buy any infant formula, there are again people who will say, according to our any infant formula, it is going to last for me only 2 or 3 days, or 3 days maximum. I don't think it goes beyond 3 days, 110. So I have to keep on investing on this particular formula, which is very economic, very expensive. And people will say now, and there is also so many ratios that we look at, 1 scoop in 30 ml water. But the mothers will practice 1 scoop in 60 ml water because they don't want to finish the tin faster. These are all something which practically we have been seeing. And that is why I'm just highlighting, not that I'm promoting any infant formula. So the economic benefit has to be highlighted to the woman, and how it reflects in the healthier children, how it also plays a role in improved sleep associated with breastfeeding. And so many components are there which has to be taken to the uh, people for sustaining breastfeeding. And I think all of you are familiar with this, when so many celebrities and so many politicians, political people who are in the higher positions in the government, when they all can practice and support breastfeeding as healthcare professional, we also should be able to help our working parents with all the knowledge that we have gained, to support them and continue and sustain the exclusive breastfeeding. and introduce a complementary feeding appropriately. Thank you for listening, and thanks for the opportunity once again. I remind, thank you here.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a useful and enlightening session. We can have the question answer session at the end of the meeting. Moving further into the session, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. S. Haripriya, ma'am.
Yamini, 1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Just check first, madam is there. Ma'am is there, but anyway. We will check.
Yeah, ma'am is here only.
Yeah, okay, okay. Continue.
Okay. Ma'am is a great academician, wonderful leader, dynamic person, and able administrator. She is the head of the Department of Food Science and Technology, Pondicherry University. She has 2 decades of teaching experience. She is expertise in food material science, prebiotics, and symbiotic foods. She delivered lectures in more than 50 conferences and has published over 46 articles. She is the convener of Net Profan Puducherry chapter. She is the committee member of State Level Monitoring, Government of Puducherry. She is also a member of Association of Food Scientists and Technologists, Nutrition Society of India, Indian Dietetic Association, and IAPN. I request you, ma'am, to deliver this special lecture upon inalienable right of a lactating mother. Over to you, ma'am.
One more line I would like to add. Ma'am has got 2 decades of teaching experience. Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Yamini, for the introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank the Central Working Committee of IAPN for giving this opportunity, and the organizing secretary, Dr. Kyle Mili, for inviting me for delivering this lecture in this very important week that we are celebrating as the breastfeeding week. Now, my talk would basically be on the
Excuse me, 1 second. Sorry for interrupting you. Voice is not clear. Maybe you are joining in 2 system as well as a mobile like that.
no,
It's not clear voice. Maybe for me alone, I don't know. Okay.
Is it all right now?
Yes, now it is clear.
Okay. I'm happy to have joined this particular workshop on the breastfeeding week celebrations. And I think all of us, if I could see into the participants, where we have 100 participants as of now, and all of them are women. And I feel that this particular workshop would be of more importance as well, a budding young, challenging women who are going to take up in this society the most important role of being mothers, and also disseminating this information on what are the laws and what are the legitimate rights of a mother on being a nursing mother in specific. So my talk would basically would be, and I should first thank Dr. Hemalata. She has already introduced my topic and also explained briefly on the law. So I would be letting you know about what are the amendments that are there in the law and why we had such an amendment would be the first question, and followed by what are the amendments in the law, and we'll see how it has been implemented and what more we can do for the effective implementation of the various laws that would pertain for the nursing mothers. I would share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So, as you know, that I have chosen this topic on inalienable right of lactating mother is that we have, and you also would have seen as you go and come in the public transportation system, as we visit various public places like park, beach, or it could be the malls or the hotels or the theaters, we would have seen in some corner a mother trying to feed her child. You know, like that gives a lot of embarrassment to the mother, and as well as our earlier speaker, Madam Hema Malini has mentioned, it causes a lot of discontact between the mother's emotion and to the secretion of milk, because emotion plays a very important role in the secretion of milk, and that kind of situation alters the behavior and the attitude of the mother to feed the child. And this is what basically leads to the inclusion of the the supplements, or the artificial feeding powders that are available to be given to the child at a very small age. So breastfeeding mothers are entitled to have an exclusive benefit under the Indian law, and this World Breastfeeding Week is a great opportunity for all of us to share and know about these laws. Now, if you see, breastfeeding yields very important immediate and long-term health benefits for infants, their mothers, which could implement some kind of positive impact on the children's cognitive development and as well as the health of the mother itself. Breastfeeding is basically associated with high productivity and lower absenteeism for the breastfeeding mothers, and every mother has a unique breastfeeding story. It is the first challenge they tackle on their motherhood journey. So, breastfeeding remains as an integral part of the baby's growth and development. The World Health Organization recommends that a newborn be breastfed for at least 6 months, and they also mention that the weaning process can continue for up to 2 years. With Indian maternity laws allowing only 26 weeks of maternity leave, which initially used to be 12 weeks until recently, many working mothers in India cannot breastfeed their babies for the desired duration. Now, India ranks 78 in the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative. Of the 97 countries that participate, only 44% of the infants in India initiate breastfeeding within the first hour of birth. Additionally, if you could see, only 55% follow exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, which is the data available through the national data sources. Now, India has set a target for exclusive breastfeeding at a rate of 69% by 2025. Now, the dilemma of most working mother is to whether leave their little ones at home with a caregiver or take them to the office with them or keep them in a nursery. The issue gets dire as most workspaces are not equipped with facilities to help resolve the breastfeeding mother's concern. In our country, there are many laws that safeguard the interest of pregnant and nursing employees. For example, we have the Maternity Benefit Amendment Act 2017, which entitles breastfeeding norms to a creche, which they mention as a nursery, at their workspaces, be it a IT firm, a government office, a factory, a plantation, or a woman working in a mine, or a university as mine. Challenges that the breastfeeding mom faces in India would include the absence of a nursing room, forces mother to breastfeed in public, which makes the mother feel very uncomfortable, is what is the first start of demand for a child care room to be built in public spaces. From lack of awareness about breastfeeding practices to the absence of nursing or childcare rooms at workspaces, lactating mothers face more challenges than what we can really imagine. Women have limited access to nursing rooms in malls, theaters, banks, and in the office. while only a few organizations are now arranging some kinds of nursing stations or childcare room where working women, most public places do not have one. This means that women are forced to breastfeed their infants on public transports, in secluded corners, under the trees, in their cars, or in their parking lots, or even in the restrooms. While doing so, they also meet or embarrass themselves with stares and ogles from strangers, which would alter the behavior and attitude of the breastfeeding moms. So the status, if you could see, of the various breastfeeding practices, the WHO and the UNICEF recommends that infants be breastfed within the first hour of birth. That is the very early initiation of breastfeeding, and it should be an exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. However, if you look into the data, which I have shared from the NFHS 5, it is revealed that only 41% of the last born children in India who are breastfed in 2 years before the survey were breastfed within the first hour of birth. The early initiation of breastfeeding was low in women with no schooling and for deliveries not assisted by health professionals. So the survey also found that 64% of the children under 6 months of age were exclusively breastfed. So with this as a very important scenario, we should understand that the national laws on breastfeeding is very, very important for the understanding of the common public. In order to overcome the many barriers concerning breastfeeding, it is important to know that our country's existing laws and provisions. This will help us become aware of the rights and benefits that we are entitled to and how we can demand the same. Now, so we will take this opportunity to talk about some of these laws, their limitations, and what can be done to improve them. The Maternity Benefit Amendment Act 2017 is an amendment passed on the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, which is passed to regulate the employment of women for some time before and after birth. It's applicable to the women employees working in any establishment, be it the factories, plantation shops, mines, or commercial establishments with 10 or more employees. The amendment includes welcoming changes like an increase in the maternity duration and the leave duration and the establishment of creche or nursing centers. The key benefits of the Act include that women employees have the right to be paid maternity leave of 26 weeks. A woman with 2 or more children is entitled for a 12-week of paid maternity leave. A woman who legally adopts a child below the age of 3 months or a commissioning mother is entitled to 12 weeks of paid maternity leave, and depending on her job profile, a woman can work from home after the maternity leave on conditions mutually agreed upon between the woman and her employer. Establishments with 50 or more employees should have a nursery at the establishment or within 500 meters of it, and nursing mothers can visit the nursery 4 times a day. The establishment should inform all women employees about their maternal benefits, which are listed in the Act in writing and electronically when they join the place. So this is what are the key benefits of the Act. Further, you can also find that the Act does not take into account of the rights who are employed in the unorganized sector. So you would find that the Act, which is basically has a lot of well-intentioned benefits, it also has some cons that needs to be changed upon, which includes that the increase in paid maternity leave from 12 to 26 weeks can cause an employer to prefer hiring a man, thus reducing the job opportunities for women and affecting their financial independence. The Maternity Benefit Act 1961 protects the employment of the women during the time of maternity and entitles them a full paid absence from work to take care of the child. The amendments of 2016 seeks to increase the maternity leave period to 26 weeks in all establishments, including the private sectors. The passage of this bill will increase the period from 12 weeks to 26 weeks. But the disturbing fact is that the various numbers of surveys that are done, and that too in particular about the poll which is conducted by the Citizens Engagement Platform Local Service, where around all the startups and small enterprises of around 4,300 startup founders, SMEs and entrepreneurs were surveyed. The shocking fact was that the 26% of the surveyed entrepreneurs said that they would prefer hiring male employees, and 35% predicted a negative impact from the law on their cost and probability. Now, further, the profits probability is basically dependent on the employer, and thereby most of the entrepreneurs are reluctant in taking up the women for the job. Further, the Act does not take into account the rights of the employees who are from the unorganized sectors, which could include a farm worker or a self-employed woman. A majority of the women employees in our country belong to this particular sector, and no maternity protections for women is available in the informal sectors. Usually, the women in the formal employment in India are making significant headways in the maternity welfare legislation. They are entitled for the 6 months maternity leave for the first 2 children, and an option to work from home when the nature of work allows such an arrangement. This allows them the time to exclusively breastfeed the child for 6 months. But the informal sector workers have to fend for themselves. For example, they save money to take longer breaks from work after pregnancy, or create a care network using neighbors when there aren't any nurseries available. But informal sector workers can have their work on earning opportunities taken away from them at short notice without making them more unstable and insecure in nature. The law does not mention paternity benefits, making it look like the whole responsibility of caring of infant lies only with the mother. So this has to be looked upon. So these are the various limitations of the law. So what can be changed? The government can partially fund the paid maternity leave of women employees to reduce the burden on employers so they don't think twice about the hiring of women. Provision in other acts like the Factories Act of 1948 and the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act of 2008 must be considered and amalgamated to create a clearer law providing equal benefits of women in all sectors. And as fathers have an equal role in parenting, the government can enhance the paternity benefits to promote equality in grooming the newborn. So with that, we should also understand that this is not the only central law that is available. Now, apart from the central laws, there are some states which have special laws and provisions for the breastfeeding mothers. And let's just take a look at them. Where in states like Uttar Pradesh, we have the Uttar Pradesh Factories Rule in 1950, which states that the nurseries must be made available to women employees at an accessible place, but not far away from the factory. And each child must have an exclusively of at least 20 square feet of floor area. And the rooms should definitely have cots and cradles, and the mother must be allowed at least 2 intervals of 30 minutes each to feed the child. In the state of Maharashtra, the Maharashtra Factories Rule 1963, which is much similar to the Uttar Pradesh Factories Rule, here they find that the employees where establishments of more than 50 women employees are there should be definitely a nursery which is established along with the commercial space as such. In Tamil Nadu, we have the Tamil Nadu handloom workers and as well as the Tamil Nadu BD industrial premises, where they make sure that nurseries are available within the work area for children below 3 years of age. Like the similar one we have in Rajasthan and as well as in Gujarat and Bengal. Now, as we still have all these state laws and central laws as such, certainly why is that the women are still more reluctant to provide milk to exclusively for the newborn? Why is that the NFHS data 2019-21 still shows that there is less than 50% of the surveyed population who have giving exclusive breast milk for a period of 6 months? We can understand that there is a very poor monitoring and implementation of policies. Okay, so to understand the complete idea about breastfeeding is not just about knowing how to feed or what are the laws that are available. It should be also understood that the whole concept of breastfeeding is not just the mother and baby, but there is a larger role played by the social network, the institutional bias and racism, the various community and cultural feeding norms, and above all, what is the enabling environment policies and laws which are going to enhance the same. Well, with all this perspective, we find that there is poor monitoring and implementation of the policies. So several laws and policies on breastfeeding exist in our country, as we have seen, yet their monitoring and implementation at the grassroots levels are not carried out as expected. The World Breastfeeding Trends Initiatives assess the implementation of policies and programs on infant and child feeding, and it publishes the reports and report cards for various countries. And in its latest report, India is ranked 75. This low score is due to the poor administration of policies related to breastfeeding, lack of baby-friendly hospitals, marketing of substitutes for breast milk, and no proper breastfeeding counseling for pregnant and lactating mothers. Most laws which are related to the pregnant and lactating employees are lacking clarity and may not be applicable to women working in an unorganized sector as a domestic helper or in the farmlands. Now, as a result, these women are denied the maternity leave and the nursery facilities, leading to a decline in the number working in the unorganized labor forces. So, do you know how the mothers know about these laws? Were you aware of all the laws which are existent in India? Did you know about the laws which are benefiting the nursing mothers in our own state? Most women are unaware of the laws. They do not know the benefits of these laws which could aid both the mother and the child. The government should develop programs to create more awareness about these provisions. Proper awareness of breastfeeding guidelines and laws for nursing mothers can bring about a huge change in the breastfeeding trends in the country. Now that you are aware of these laws and provisions, we are sure that you will make an impact this World Breastfeeding Week by spreading the word about them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an illuminating session. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Kanchana, Treasurer, IAPN India, Puducherry Chapter, Dietitian, Department of Medical Oncology, JIPMER, Puducherry.
One second. Is there any question? After that, we can end the session. Just ask. Because ma'am, both the ma'ams are there.
Okay, ma'am.
Resource persons, they are there. If they are interested to ask any question, they can ask, they can discuss.
Okay, ma'am. Participants, do you have any questions regarding the session?
Okay. You check, is there any questions in the chat box? Then we can conclude.
Okay. I think this question is to Hema Malini ma'am. Based on the gender of the child, is there any restriction needed in the foods consumed?
Can you repeat the question based on the
Yes, ma'am,
gender
sure.
of the child?
Based on the gender of the child, is there any restrictions needed in the foods consumed?
Foods consumed? I think it's a wonderful question, but actually there is no difference with the gender of the child. As we all know, even in your RDA book, no, the gender specification comes only after 13 years. Am I right? 13 to 15, 13 to 16, like that. Before that, it is all girls and boys is coming as a overall same age. Okay. So as far as the nutrient requirements are concerned, till that age of puberty, there is no difference, especially when it comes to what we are talking about is the breastfeeding followed by that complementary feeding. So in that, definitely there is no difference in the foods that has to be given based on the gender. I appreciate that question because in general இப்போ கிடையாது, that kind of a thing is not there. But earlier ஆண் குழந்தைக்கு நிறைய ஃபீட் பண்ணணும், பெண் குழந்தைக்கு அவ்வளவு தேவையில்லை, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு myth was there. But whether it is ஆணோ பெண்ணோ, உணவு is the same. So, and especially a girl during her puberty and subsequent to that, she needs a much better nutrition. That is for sure. At the younger age, complementary feeding lala, there is no difference in the food or the requirement. I hope I answered that presentation. Is that the question that was asked? Was that the meaning of that question?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Hello. Good
Yes,
afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Actually, there are certain myths with regard to certain foods shouldn't be included if it is a boy child, and certain foods shouldn't be included if it's a girl child.
Okay.
I've heard when so is there any specific food that should be avoided if it's a boy child?
That is, you mean to say for the lactating mother, Ilya? Is that
for
the
the
question?
lactating mother, because somewhere I heard that it is among the community that they were speaking that this food, if it is consumed, it will cause the body will become heated and things like that.
But to my knowledge, I have not come across when we see people, they have been eating
Especially
proteins
they
without
used to
any
tell
major
this
restriction.
drumstick.
But as you said, but as you said, there may be certain there's certain these kind of beliefs or assumptions in certain communities or certain particular areas. That may be there, but scientifically I am not very sure about that kind of discrimination. To my knowledge, I don't see that there may be any discrimination of that kind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very informative session.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Starts thinking, thought process is initiated. Thank you.
Any other questions from the participants? Then shall I proceed, ma'am?
Yes, continue. Proceed.
Okay.
Conclude.
I now invite Ms. Kanchana, Treasurer IAPN India Puducherry Chapter, Dietitian, Department of Medical Oncology, JIPMER, Puducherry, to deliver vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Yamini, for introducing me.
Thank you.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. It gives an immense pleasure to deliver gratitude note for this wonderful webinar. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Biju Potekar, sir, National Vice President, IAPN India, Professor, Department of Surgical Gastroenterology, JIPMER, Puducherry, who honored this webinar with his inspirational thoughts. Thank you, sir. Our special thanks goes to Dr. Hema Malini, ma'am, Professor and Head, Department of Clinical Nutrition, Allied Health Sciences, Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. and Dr. Haripriya ma'am, Professor and Head, Department of Food Science and Technology, Pondicherry University, Puducherry, who has accepted our invitation and shared a marvelous talk. Thank you both, ma'am. I would like to thank Dr. Gayalvari Balamurugan ma'am, Organizing Secretary, EC Member, IAPIN India Puducherry Chapter, Assistant Professor, Department of Home Science, Bharadasan Government College for Women's and Autonomous Puducherry for her enthusiasm and entire effort. Thank you so much, ma'am. And also, I would like to thank Ms. Yamini, second MSc, Clinical Nutrition, Mahatma Gandhi Medical College and Research Institute, Puducherry, who acted as a moderator. Thank you, Yamini. Last but not least, I would like to thank participants, each and everyone, for your presence and make this event a huge success. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. The feedback form has been given in the chat box. Participants are requested to fill the feedback form so that you can receive your certificate.
1 second. Here, I would like to add one more line, gratitude note towards Mrs. Uma Shankari, Assistant Dietitian, JIPMA, who has joined little late, who is very supportive for this program. Thank you, Uma Shankari. Thank you, resource person.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for remembering.
Okay.
Summarizing the session, we should promote, protect, and support breastfeeding because the nation's wealth depends upon the health of the children and the mother. Exclusive breastfeeding is for the first 6 months and continuing until 2 years of age, along with the complementary feeding, is the basic right of a mother and a working mother too. We would welcome the opportunity to return with another session with an exciting topic in the near future. Thank you all.
Kanchana or Yamini, we can take a group photo. Who's using laptop? Participants, please join. Open. Video open. Pani, please join.
All of them, please on your videos.
Dr. Haripriya ma'am, Dr. Hema ma'am, Uma Shankari. Okay. All of you have a great evening. Thank you so much for your participation. Kindly fill the feedback form. Those who have attended the program and also fill the feedback form will get your certificates. Thank you.